Ladies and gentlemen, life doesn't always hand us sunshine. Sometimes it hands us storms. Storms so heavy they make you question everything you believe. You pray, you hope, you try to do right, and still darkness finds its way to your doorstep. And in those moments, a quiet question rises inside every human heart. If God is good, why does he let evil exist? That's not a weak question, that's a human one. And today, I want to walk with you through that question, not with fear, not with confusion, but with courage, clarity, and a deeper understanding. Because once you understand the real reasons behind the battles you face, you stop crumbling under them and you start rising through them. Evil exists in this world, and you don't need to look far to see it. You've felt it in your losses, your disappointments, your heartbreaks, and the moments where life knocked the breath right out of you. But if you look deeper, if you stand still long enough to understand what is really happening beneath the pain, you'll start to see something powerful. You'll realize that evil is not just a force working against you. It is a mirror revealing the choices you are capable of making. It shows you who you can become, not because of what you go through, but because of how you choose to respond. Every day you wake up, you stand at a crossroads. One path pulls you toward anger, fear, bitterness, and excuses. The other leads you toward strength, compassion, perseverance, and growth. Evil does not force your hand. It simply exposes the battlefield where your choices matter. You learn who you are not in the calm waters, but in the storms that try to sink you. Your character is not defined when everything goes right. It is shaped when everything goes wrong and you still rise. Think about the moments that shaped you the most. Were they the moments of ease, or were they the moments where you had to make a hard choice? The day someone betrayed you and you had to decide whether to become bitter or better. The moment life hit you so hard you could barely stand and you had to choose whether to give up or keep going. The season when you felt alone, wounded, and tired, and you had to choose whether to close your heart or open it wider. These moments reveal the power inside you because adversity removes the mask. It strips away the noise and shows you the truth of your spirit. Evil tests humanity, but it also exposes greatness. There are people who survived unimaginable pain, yet they use that pain to build a life that lifts others. The person who grew up with nothing and chose generosity over greed. The woman who faced loss and chose healing over hatred. The man who was surrounded by violence and still chose to walk the path of peace. Those choices were not easy. They were forged in struggle, but that struggle is what made those choices meaningful. We often forget that we grow through resistance. A muscle does not strengthen without tension. A mind does not sharpen without challenge. A soul does not deepen without trials. Evil creates the tension, the challenge, the test that gives your choices weight. Without darkness, light would be just another option. Without struggle, courage would have no value. Without cruelty, compassion would not shine as brightly as it does. There is a reason people admire those who overcame adversity. It's because they made choices that weren't easy, choices that required discipline, faith, resilience, and heart, choices that revealed they were stronger than their circumstances. Every time you choose goodness in the presence of evil, you elevate yourself. You rise above what was meant to break you. You prove that your spirit cannot be controlled by darkness unless you surrender to it. When you recognize that evil exists to reveal the power of your choices, you stop seeing yourself as powerless. You stop blaming your past, your environment, your wounds. You start realizing that your decisions carry weight. You understand that the world can push you, pressure you, and challenge you, but it cannot define you. Your choices do that, so when evil crosses your path, don't let it drag you into its shadows. Stand tall, look it in the eye, and choose the path that leads to growth, strength, and purpose. You are not tested to fail. You are tested to discover who you truly are. And every time you choose the higher road, you don't just change your life. You change the world around you. There is a version of you that comfort will never introduce you to. A stronger you, a wiser you, a deeper you. That version is shaped in struggle, not softness. Because comfort, as pleasant as it feels, does not build character. It maintains who you are. but it never stretches who you can become. Evil, hardship, adversity. These are the forces that carve out strength you never knew existed. They are the chisels that shape your character into something solid, something tested, something real. You learn who you are when life stops being gentle. Anybody can smile when the sun is shining, but who are you when the night comes without warning? Who are you when betrayal hits your heart like a hammer? Who are you when loss empties your world? Who are you when everything you planned falls apart piece by piece? That is where character walks out of the shadows. That is where the parts of you that comfort could never teach begin to rise. Think about the people who inspire you. Their greatness wasn't born on soft pillows or easy days. It came from moments that demanded something exceptional from them. The man who grew up hungry, who promised himself he'd never let his family feel what he felt. The woman who lost everything in one moment and rebuilt her world with patience and courage. The young adult who faced rejection after rejection and still stood up every day, choosing discipline over despair. These people weren't shaped by the good days. They were sculpted by the bad ones. Evil pushed them, pressured them, and revealed in them a strength they never would have discovered otherwise. Comfort convinces you that you're fine as you are. Evil challenges you to become more. Comfort whispers that you've done enough. Evil reminds you that there's more inside you waiting to be uncovered. Without struggle, patience is just a word. Without pain, endurance is an idea. Without loss, gratitude is surface level. It is adversity that gives depth to your virtues. It is hardship that gives weight to your growth. Evil stands there like an opponent in a ring, daring you to fight back, daring you to rise above what tried to crush you. There is a scientific concept called post-traumatic growth. It reveals something remarkable. People who experience hardship often develop stronger emotional resilience than those who never struggled. They become more empathetic, more grounded, more focused on what truly matters. That only happens because adversity forced them to confront themselves, to dig deeper, to grow beyond what they thought possible. Comfort cannot create that. Only conflict can. When life breaks you open, it also breaks you free from illusions. You learn that you are stronger than the pain you've survived. You learn that peace is a choice, not a condition. You learn that your character is not defined by what happens to you, but by how you decide to respond. Evil might knock you down, but your decision to get back up, that's the moment your real strength steps into the light. You can't control every storm that touches your life, but you can control the kind of person you become because of it. You can choose to let hardship harden your heart, or you can let it refine your spirit. You can let evil shape you into someone bitter, or you can let it guide you into someone better. When you understand that character is born in the fire, not the comfort, you start to see your struggles differently. You stop asking why it happened to you and start discovering what it awakened within you. You begin to stand taller, speak clearer, love deeper, and live with a purpose that comfort never could have inspired. So walk through your difficult seasons knowing this. Every challenge is shaping you. Every heartbreak is strengthening you. Every battle is building a version of you that comfort could never create. And when you come out of the fire, you won't just be the same person who walked in. You'll be the person you were meant to become. There comes a moment in every life when the weight of the world presses down so hard that your own strength no longer feels enough. You try to fight with your mind, but your thoughts get heavy. You try to stand on your willpower, but your knees begin to shake. You try to fix everything with your own hands, but life keeps slipping through your fingers. And it's in these moments, when evil rises, when darkness feels too close, that you begin to understand something powerful. You begin to see that you were never meant to walk through this life depending only on yourself. Evil reminds you that you need something greater, something deeper, something higher than your own strength. Because the truth is, when life is comfortable, when everything is smooth, people start to lean on their own understanding. They convince themselves that success is all skill, all talent, all intelligence. But when trouble shows up, when tragedy hits, when the unexpected knocks the breath out of your chest, suddenly the limits of your own strength become painfully clear. And in that honest moment, you realize that there is a power beyond you, a power bigger than you, and you were never meant to live this life without it. Think about the hardest times you've survived. Not the easy days, not the moments where everything aligned perfectly, but the moments when you were hanging by a thread, when you were praying for direction, when you were searching for hope, when you were crying behind closed doors. In those moments, something in you reached upward, something in you called out, something in you knew instinctively that the battle you were facing was bigger than your ability to handle it alone. Evil pushes you to recognize that you need guidance greater than your own. It humbles you, not to destroy you, but to remind you that you were created with a connection to something divine and powerful. And when life hits hardest, that connection becomes your rescue, your anchor, your way through the storm. Look at the world during times of disaster. People come together, communities unite, strangers help strangers, prayer becomes a powerful force again. Faith becomes real again. Why? Because suffering brings clarity. It strips away the illusions we build around ourselves. It reminds us that even the strongest among us have limitations. We are not built to carry everything alone. We are built to lean into something that strengthens us when we cannot strengthen ourselves. Some of the most powerful transformations in life begin at the moment when someone realizes they cannot win the battle by themselves. The person battling addiction who finally reaches out for help. The grieving mother who finds comfort in faith when there are no answers. The man who loses everything and discovers that his hope had to come from somewhere higher than his circumstances. These moments are not signs of weakness. They are signs of awakening. Evil forces you to ask bigger questions. It challenges your assumptions. It pushes you beyond the shallow surface of life. When you face darkness, you start to understand the importance of light. When you face fear, you start to understand the power of courage. When you face your limits, you start to understand the need for a limitless presence moving with you and through you. And once you recognize that you are not alone, you begin to walk differently. You stand taller. You speak with more conviction. You take risks rooted in faith, not fear. You develop a resilience that isn't built on your strength alone, but on the strength of something eternal supporting you. So when evil comes close, when it shakes your life and rattles your confidence, don't let it convince you that you're defeated. Let it remind you that you have access to a power that does not bend under pressure. A power that does not break under suffering. A power that carries you when your own strength runs out, and when you rise again, and you will, you'll rise knowing you were never meant to walk this journey on your own. You were meant to walk it with something greater beside you, within you, and guiding you through every shadow toward the light. There are moments in life when everything you thought was solid suddenly feels fragile. Moments when evil steps into your world and reminds you how quickly things can change. One phone call, one loss, one betrayal, one moment of chaos, and the life you took for granted feels like sand slipping through your fingers. In those moments, you begin to understand something powerful. You begin to see the divide between what is temporary and what is eternal. Evil has a way of shaking the illusion that this world is all there is. It pushes you to look deeper, to step back, and to recognize the greater purpose that lies beyond the daily noise of life. We live in a world that teaches us to chase things that fade, success that can disappear overnight, money that can vanish in an instant, status that can be taken away with one mistake, beauty that time will eventually claim, comfort that life cannot always guarantee. When everything is going right, these things feel important. They feel permanent. But when evil shows up and life breaks open, you start to see the truth. You start to understand that none of these things can save you, anchor you, or carry you through hardship. Evil forces you to confront the reality that life is temporary. Every breath is borrowed. Every moment is precious. Every relationship, every opportunity, every blessing can shift without warning. And instead of driving you into fear, This realization can drive you into purpose. It can make you appreciate what truly matters. It can make you hunger for something that lasts beyond the surface. Evil becomes the contrast that reveals the deeper meaning you were always meant to find. Look at people who have survived profound loss or tragedy. They come out of those experiences speaking differently. They live differently. Their priorities change. They stop wasting time on meaningless grudges. They hold their loved ones a little tighter. They value moments over material things. They pursue purpose instead of approval. Because once you've touched darkness, once you've felt the fragility of life, you understand that your purpose must be built on something eternal, not temporary. Think of someone who has faced a near-death experience. Many of them talk about how their perspective shifted overnight. The job they stressed over suddenly didn't matter. The arguments they held on to no longer felt important. What mattered was the impact they left, the love they shared, the mark they made on others. It wasn't the temporary trophies of life that gave them strength. It was the eternal purpose they finally understood. Evil interrupts your routine to remind you that time is not promised. You only get one life to live, one chance to make a difference, one opportunity to build something that lasts beyond your own years. When darkness enters your story, it is not just there to test you. It is there to redirect you, to pull you away from distractions, to push you toward destiny, to lift your eyes from what fades to what forever stands. You see, what is temporary can entertain you, comfort you, or distract you. But only what is eternal can fulfill you, guide you, and strengthen you. Evil may shake your temporary life, but it cannot destroy your eternal purpose unless you allow it. When you realize this, you walk with a new kind of confidence. You stop letting small things control you. You stop letting fear silence you. You stop letting setbacks define you. You start living like someone who understands the bigger picture. So when evil enters your world, do not think of it as the end. See it as a reminder that you are meant for more than this fleeting life. You are meant to build something that lasts, to love in a way that echoes beyond time, to live with an impact that reaches further than you can see. When you hold onto that eternal purpose, no amount of evil can end your story. It can only refine it. There are times in life when evil feels loud, overwhelming, and unshakable. Times when the wrong people seem to win, when injustice rises, when cruelty walks boldly through the world. And in those moments, it's easy to wonder why a higher power would allow such darkness at all. But when you look closer, when you watch the long arc of a human life, when you study history, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. Evil is permitted not to glorify darkness, but to reveal the strength, resilience, and unstoppable force of goodness. Because goodness isn't proven in peaceful days. It's proven when everything around you tries to break it and fails. Goodness has never been the absence of evil. It has always been the triumph over it. That is why the hardest battles in your life become the clearest proof of your strength. You don't know how brave you are until fear stands in front of you. You don't know how powerful your hope is until despair tries to silence it. You don't know how deep your compassion runs until cruelty gives you every reason to turn cold. Evil sets the stage so that goodness can step forward and show what it's made of. Think about the story of any great hero in real life. The firefighter who runs into a burning building, not out, the teacher who shields her students during danger, the doctor who works through exhaustion during tragedy, the parent who sacrifices everything to keep their child safe. These acts don't happen in a perfect world. They happen in the presence of danger. They happen because evil created a moment where goodness had to choose whether to rise or retreat. And every time goodness rises, it proves something eternal. Darkness does not get to write the final chapter. If life were painless, most people would never develop courage, patience, generosity, or empathy. These qualities grow in response to adversity. You don't wake up with strength one day. Strength is forged through resistance. You don't become wise by accident. Wisdom comes from walking through seasons you didn't understand and coming out with deeper insight. You don't learn compassion in comfort. You learn it through witnessing suffering and deciding to care anyway. Evil, as painful as it is, has a way of revealing who we truly are and who we can become. It exposes the weakness in our world, yes, but it also reveals the goodness that refuses to bend. When disaster strikes, communities unite. When injustice rises, movements form. When oppression spreads, leaders stand up from places no one expected. Goodness is quiet in times of ease, but it becomes thunder in times of need. History has proven this again and again. Every era filled with darkness eventually becomes a story of people who stood up, spoke out, fought back, and chose goodness when it was hardest. Evil never had the final say, not once. The light may have flickered, but it never went out. And in your personal life, the same truth applies. Think about the hardships you've faced, the heartbreaks, betrayals, failures, losses. At the time, they may have felt like evidence that evil was winning. But look closer. Those moments shaped your character. They deepened your understanding. They taught you resilience. They pushed you to grow in ways comfort never could. They awakened strength you didn't know you had. Evil pressed against you, yet here you are still standing, still moving, still reaching for better. That is what goodness looks like, not perfection, not ease, not a life without storms. Goodness is the decision to rise anyway. To love anyway, to forgive when bitterness feels easier, to hope when the world gives you reasons not to keep walking when darkness tries to block every step forward. So when evil crosses your path, do not assume it is winning. Do not assume it has the power to end your story. Think of it instead as the moment goodness waits for, the moment where your courage gets to prove itself, the moment where your character steps into the light, the moment where the strength within you becomes undeniable. Because goodness may not shout the loudest, and it may not always move the fastest, but it always wins in the end. It wins because it endures. It wins because it heals. It wins because, even when darkness rises, goodness refuses to disappear. It rises right alongside you, turning your struggles into testimony, your battles into growth, and your pain into purpose. And that is why evil is permitted, not to destroy you, but to reveal the power of the goodness that lives within you, waiting to shine. So why does God allow evil not to break you, but to build you? Not to destroy you, but to shape you. Not to abandon you, but to push you toward the purpose planted inside you. You are not a victim of evil. You are a fighter shaped through it. And when you walk through darkness with faith, courage, and conviction, you don't just survive, you rise. And the world rises with you.